Captain Jiho stood on the bridge of Aurora's Hope, watching the stars streak past as his ship traveled through deep space. He was a calm man with kind eyes and 15 years of experience exploring the galaxy. Today should have been like any other day. He was wrong. "Captain, we have unknown ships approaching," said Lieutenant Minji from her station. Her fingers moved quickly across the control panel. 4 vessels, large, very large. Jiho looked at the screen. The ships were massive, 3 times the size of his vessel. They looked like weapons floating in space. Dark metal. Sharp edges. Built for war. "Try to contact them," Jiho said. Standard greeting protocols. Dr. Taman, the ship's scientist, sent the message. He included music from Earth, pictures of human children playing, and offers of friendship. It was how humans always greeted new species. With hope, with trust, the alien ships responded. When the video appeared on screen, the entire bridge went quiet. The creature was huge. Nearly 3 meters tall with 4 arms and a body covered in natural armor. Its eyes were cold and calculating. Behind it, dozens of similar beings moved with military precision. "I am War Master Krell of the Varathian Empire," the creature said. Its voice was deep and harsh. "We have studied your species. You are small. You are weak. You cry at simple departures. You waste time with stories and art. Your military is laughable." Krell leaned forward. "We claim your territory. Surrender now, and we will allow you to serve us. Resist, and we will crush you like we crushed 17 other species before you." Jiho felt his heart beat faster, but his voice stayed calm. "We wish you no harm. We can share this space. There is room for all of us in the galaxy." Krell laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "Share? The strong do not share with the weak. We take. That is the way of the universe." The transmission ended. Minji turned to her captain. "Sir, we need to warn the colonies. They will attack." "I know," Jiho said quietly. He sent an emergency message to Admiral Hyaran, commander of Earth's defense forces. Then he did something that surprised his crew. He sent another message to the Varathians. "War Master Krell, I must warn you. Humans may look small and emotional to you. We prefer peace because we know the cost of war. We have fought wars for thousands of years on our own planet. We learned hard lessons. Please do not mistake our kindness for weakness. Do not make us show you what we really are." On the Varathian flagship, Krell watched the humans' message with his officers. Intelligence Officer Vorn laughed. "They think they can threaten us? Look at them. They are barely taller than our children. They show images of old battles," said Sub-Commander Tharn, studying the data. "But the scale is small. Limited weapons. Nothing compared to our might." Krell made his decision. "Send the fleet to their colony called Harmony. 50,000 humans live there. When we destroy it, the others will surrender quickly. Fear is the best weapon." But Tharn noticed something in the human captain's eyes, something that made him uncomfortable. The human had not looked afraid. He had looked sad, like someone who knew a terrible thing was about to happen and could not stop it. 2 days later, 200 Varathian warships entered the Harmony system. Krell expected to see humans running in panic. Instead, the colony was empty. Every civilian was gone. Only Harmony Station remained, floating in space like a trap waiting to spring. "Where are they?" Vorn asked, confused. "They ran," Krell said. "Like prey animals. Send boarding parties. Take the station. Show the galaxy that humans are cowards." Tharn felt that uncomfortable feeling grow stronger. Something was wrong. Humans had evacuated 50,000 people in less than 2 days. That was not the action of a disorganized species. That was military precision. Inside Harmony Station, Sergeant Do-hyun checked his weapons one last time. He and 11 other humans had volunteered to stay behind. They knew they would probably die here. But they also knew their deaths would teach the Varathians an important lesson. "Everyone ready?" Do-hyun asked. His team nodded. They were calm, focused. This was what humans did best. They planned, they prepared, and when necessary, they fought with a creativity born from thousands of years of warfare against themselves. Minji had spent 3 days converting the station into a maze of death. The corridors were too narrow for large Varathians to fight effectively. Gravity changed randomly. Doors opened and closed according to patterns designed to separate enemy forces. Every corner held a surprise. The Varathian boarding parties entered the station expecting frightened technicians. Instead, they found humans in powered armor moving like ghosts through the corridors. The humans used weapons that exploited Varathian biology, sounds that hurt their ears, lights that confused their eyes. Dr. Taman's research had shown the humans exactly how to hurt their enemies. But what shocked the Varathians most was not the technology. It was the method. Humans fought like no other species they had encountered. They used tricks. They used psychology. They made the Varathians afraid. One Varathian soldier found himself alone in a dark corridor. A human voice spoke from the shadows. "You should leave. We do not want to kill you, but we will if you make us." The soldier fired his weapon at the darkness. Nothing. The voice came from a different direction. Wrong choice. Hours passed. The Varathian boarding parties were losing. Not because humans were stronger, but because humans were smarter. They knew the station. They knew Varathian tactics, and they knew how to win. Finally, Dohyun gathered all surviving Varathian soldiers in the central hub. 30 ships had moved close to the station to support the boarding parties. Dohyun looked at the frightened aliens and smiled. "Tell your war master something for me," he said calmly. "Tell him that humans tried to be friends. But if he wants war, we will show him what 10,000 years of human warfare looks like. Tell him we are just getting started." Then Dohyun sent one final message to Admiral Hiran. They fell for it. "All of them are in the kill zone. Give them hell for me, Admiral." He pressed the button. The station's fusion core exploded with the power of a small star. 30 Varathian ships were destroyed instantly. The shockwave damaged 50 more. And across the galaxy, every species with sensors watched as the mighty Varathian Empire bled for the first time. On his flagship, Krell stared at the destruction in disbelief. His hand shook, not from fear but from something he had never felt before. Uncertainty. "They killed themselves," Vorn whispered. "They killed themselves just to hurt us." Tharn understood now. The humans had not run away in fear. They had set a trap, and they had been willing to die to make it work. What kind of species does that? What kind of species turns their own deaths into weapons? Admiral Hiran's face appeared on every Varathian screen. She looked sad but determined. "War Master Krell, you made a mistake. You thought we were weak because we are small. You thought we were cowards because we feel emotions. You were wrong on both counts." She paused. "We tried to warn you. We tried to be your friends. Now you will learn what humans become when friendship is rejected. You have awakened something you do not understand. You have started a war with a species that perfected warfare thousands of years before we left our planet." The transmission ended. Krell looked at his fleet. He had lost 30 ships and hundreds of soldiers. And the humans had only used 12 warriors and 1 station. For the first time in his long military career, War Master Krell felt something cold settle in his chest. Fear. 3 weeks after Harmony Station, the galaxy was talking. The Varathian Empire, which had crushed 17 species without breaking a sweat, had lost 30 warships to 12 humans. The story spread across 1,000 worlds. Some species celebrated. Others watched nervously. Everyone wondered the same thing: what would happen next? War Master Krell knew he had made a mistake. But admitting mistakes was not the Varathian way. In his culture, failure meant death. So instead of retreating, he did what every proud warrior does when wounded. He attacked harder. "We will not make the same error twice," Krell announced to his commanders. "This time we bring overwhelming force. 350 ships. We will burn their colonies from space. No boarding parties, no mercy. Just destruction." But Admiral Hiran had no intention of fighting that kind of war. Humans had learned something important during their centuries of fighting each other. Sometimes the best way to win is not to fight the battle your enemy wants. "They expect us to defend our colonies directly," Hiran explained to her officers. "They expect space battles with clear front lines. We will give them something else entirely." Commander Junho smiled. He was captain of Silent Rain, a ship built for a different kind of warfare. While the Varathians built massive warships designed to intimidate, humans built small, fast vessels designed to disappear. "Guerrilla warfare," Junho said. "Hit them where they are weak. Make them afraid of shadows. Turn their own size against them." The campaign began simply. Varathian supply convoys started disappearing. Not destroyed, just gone. Ships would vanish from sensors without a trace. When search parties found them days later, the vessels were intact but empty. The crews were missing. Krell was furious. "Where are they? What happened to my soldiers?" Nobody knew. The truth would have shocked them. Junho's team was practicing what humans called piracy. They boarded ships using stealth technology. stunned the crews with non-lethal weapons, and deposited them on habitable moons with food and supplies. The ships themselves were taken back to human space full of valuable intelligence. Why not kill them? A young human officer asked Junho. Junho shook his head. Because dead enemies stay dead. Living enemies who have been shown mercy. They tell stories. They spread doubt. They make their friends wonder if maybe humans are not the monsters their leaders say we are. The psychological warfare worked better than anyone expected. Varathian crews began reporting strange things. Shadows in corridors. Equipment malfunctioning for no reason. Messages appearing on screens. We could have killed you. Tharn investigated one such incident personally. He found a Varathian cargo ship adrift in space. The crew was gone, but everything else was untouched. On the bridge, someone had left a note in perfect Varathian script. Your crew is safe on Moon Delta 7. They have food, shelter, and a beacon to call for rescue. We took nothing but information. We harmed no one. Ask yourselves, why do we show mercy when your leader shows none? Tharn stared at the note for a long time. His entire career had been built on the belief that the strong survive by dominating the weak. But humans were showing strength through restraint. It was a concept he had never considered before. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Minji was implementing her own strategy. She had studied Varathian culture for years and discovered something useful. Their military hierarchy was rigid and unforgiving. Officers who failed were executed. This made them predictable. It also made them vulnerable. Minji began making small attacks designed not to win battles but to make Varathian commanders look incompetent. A munitions depot destroyed by what appeared to be sabotage. False intelligence leading fleets to empty systems. Supply chains disrupted by precision strikes on single critical facilities. Krell's response was exactly what Minji predicted. He executed 3 fleet commanders for failure, but instead of motivating his remaining officers, it created paranoia. Now every Varathian commander worried that any mistake might be their last. They became hesitant, cautious, second-guessing orders. The humans are not just fighting us, Tharn said quietly to himself. They are fighting our culture, our traditions, our way of thinking. Captain Jiho decided it was time to speak directly to the Varathian people. He broadcast a message on all their communication channels. Unlike Krell's threats, Jiho's message was calm and respectful. He spoke in perfect Varathian language. People of the Varathian Empire, we do not wish to be your enemies. Humans fought wars for thousands of years, brother against brother, nation against nation. We built weapons that could destroy our entire planet. But eventually we learned. We learned that strength without wisdom leads only to destruction. He showed images of Earth, cities where former enemies now lived as neighbors. Technology shared freely between nations, children of different cultures playing together. We do not fear you because we are weak, Jiho continued. We tried to be your friends because we are wise. We know what war costs. We know what it destroys. Your leader chose violence. We did not. But make no mistake, we are very, very good at violence when necessary. We just prefer not to be. The broadcast ended with a simple question. Ask yourselves, is conquest worth dying for? On Varathian worlds, citizens watched the broadcast in secret. It was illegal, but people watched anyway. They saw humans not as monsters, but as people who had learned from their mistakes. Some began to wonder if maybe Krell was wrong. Then came the incident that changed everything. Tharn's patrol captured a small human vessel. It was a medical transport carrying wounded from a minor engagement. Tharn ordered it brought aboard his ship. Inside, he found something that shocked him. Human medics were treating both human and Varathian wounded. A young human nurse named Subin was carefully bandaging a Varathian soldier's arm. The soldier stared at her in confusion. Why do you help me? The soldier asked. I am your enemy. Subin looked at him with gentle eyes. Right now you are not my enemy. Right now you are hurt and I am a healer. That is all that matters. Tharn watched this interaction through security cameras. He reviewed footage of every human engagement. In each one, humans targeted weapons and engines, not life support. They offered surrender terms. They returned bodies of fallen Varathians with military honors. This was not how conquering species behaved. This was how a species that valued life behaved, even the lives of their enemies. Tharn made a decision that would have been unthinkable weeks ago. He released the medical transport, all of it. Wounded Varathians and humans together. Tell your admiral something. Tharn said to the human captain. Tell her that not all Varathians agree with this war. When Krell learned what Tharn had done, he was furious. But he could not execute Tharn. The sub-commander was too popular with the troops. Too many soldiers had started questioning the war. Krell needed to do something dramatic, something that would restore fear and respect. He decided to attack New Sol, humanity's most populated colony. 2 million civilians. He would bombard it from orbit, force the humans to commit their fleet to defend it, then crush them in open battle where Varathian numbers would be decisive. 500 ships, Krell announced, the largest battle fleet ever assembled. We will end this war in one decisive strike. Admiral Hyerin received intelligence about Krell's plan within hours. Human spies were everywhere now. She gathered her commanders for an emergency meeting. He is giving us exactly what we need, Commander Junho said. He is gathering his entire fleet in one location. Minji nodded. We can defend New Sol, but more importantly, we can end this war. If we beat him decisively, we break the Varathian Empire's belief in their own invincibility. Hyerin looked at her officers. These were good people who had been forced into war by someone else's aggression. They had fought brilliantly. Now she was going to ask them to do something incredibly dangerous. We will not just defend New Sol, she said. We will turn it into the biggest trap in human history. We will let Krell bring every ship he has, and then we will show him what happens when you underestimate humanity. The commanders looked at each other. What Hyerin was proposing was risky, but if it worked, they could win the war without destroying the Varathian species. They could teach instead of slaughter. When do we start? Yunyo asked. Hyerin smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret. A dangerous secret we already have. The New Sol system looked peaceful. The planet below glowed blue and green, home to 2 million human colonists. Ships moved in normal patterns. Everything appeared ordinary. It was the greatest lie humans had ever told. Admiral Hyerin stood in the command center deep beneath New Sol's capital city. Around her, holographic displays showed the entire system. Red dots marked Varathian ships jumping in from all directions. 500 of them. Krell had brought everything. All civilians evacuated? She asked. 3 weeks ago, confirmed Lieutenant Minji. Underground jump gates moved them to safe systems. The Varathians never detected it. Hyerin nodded. Everything on the planet's surface was automated now. Buildings lit up at night on timers. Ships moved on pre-programmed courses. From orbit, it looked like a thriving colony. In reality, it was an empty stage set designed for one purpose: to make Krell commit everything to this battle. Commander Junho, status of the stealth fleet? Hyerin asked. Junho's voice came through the comm system. He was aboard Silent Rain, somewhere in the darkness of space. 200 ships in position, surrounding the system in a 3-dimensional formation. Varathian sensors still cannot detect us. 80 visible ships holding defensive position around New Sol, added Minji. Krell will see what he expects to see, a desperate defense. On his flagship, War Master Krell studied the tactical display with satisfaction. The humans had deployed their fleet exactly as he predicted. They were trying to defend their precious colony with inferior numbers. They are brave, I will give them that, Krell said. But bravery cannot defeat overwhelming force. All ships advance. Standard battle formation. Tharn felt that familiar, uncomfortable feeling. Something was wrong. The humans had been too clever so far to make such an obvious mistake. Where was the trap? War Master, I recommend caution, Tharn said carefully. The humans have surprised us before. Krell turned on him angrily. Are you afraid, Sub-Commander? We outnumber them 6-1. What can they possibly do? As the Varathian fleet moved deeper into the system, invisible sensors tracked every ship. Human computers calculated firing solutions. The trap was ready. It just needed to close. Admiral Hyerin watched the red dots converge. She could end this now. She could destroy the entire Varathian fleet with the weapon systems humans had hidden throughout the system. But that was not the plan. The plan was to teach, not to slaughter. Open a channel to the Varathian flagship, she ordered. Her face appeared on every Varathian ship's screen. She looked calm, almost sad. War Master Krell, thank you for gathering your entire fleet in one location. It makes this much easier. I am giving you one final chance. Stand down. Power down your weapons, and we will return you home safely. Your soldiers do not need to die today. Krell laughed. You are outnumbered. You are outgunned, and you offer me surrender? Your species is insane. Hiron's expression did not change. Very well. All ships, reveal positions. Across the system, 200 human warships deactivated their stealth systems. They appeared on Varathian sensors like ghosts becoming solid. They surrounded the Varathian fleet completely. Every Varathian ship was targeted by multiple human vessels from optimal firing angles. The silence on the Varathian flagship was absolute. Vorn stared at the tactical display, his face pale. Impossible. We detected nothing. Nothing. Commence Operation Hornet's Nest, Hiron said quietly. Krell, enraged and humiliated, made the worst decision of his life.
All ships, fire!
What happened next was not a battle. It was a demonstration. Human ships moved with precision that seemed impossible. They were smaller, faster, more maneuverable than Varathian vessels. Every Varathian weapon missed or was intercepted by point defense systems. Meanwhile, human weapons struck with surgical accuracy, but they did not aim for the kill. Every shot disabled engines, destroyed weapon systems, crippled communications, but life support remained intact. The humans were dismantling the Varathian fleet piece by piece without killing anyone. Tharn watched in amazement. His ship's engines were destroyed in the first minute, but he was alive. His crew was alive. The humans were fighting a battle where victory meant disabling, not destroying. Commander Junho led Silent Rain through the chaos with grace. His ship penetrated the Varathian flagship's defenses using tactics they had never seen before. Boarding parties moved through the ship, stunning crew members with non-lethal weapons. Within 30 minutes, Junho stood on the bridge of Krell's flagship. The War Master sat in his command chair, surrounded by unconscious crew members and calm human soldiers. We could have killed you at any moment, Junho said. We chose not to. Do you understand what that means? Krell said nothing. What could he say? He had been defeated so completely that words seemed meaningless. Across the battlefield, Varathian ships were surrendering. Not because they were cowards, but because continuing to fight was pointless. The humans controlled everything. 380 Varathian ships were disabled. Not a single Varathian casualty. It was the most one-sided battle in galactic history. Tharn opened a communication channel to the remaining active Varathian ships. He was one of the few commanders whose vessel still had working communications. Fellow Varathians, I ask you to listen. We have been taught that the strong dominate the weak. But look at what happened here. The humans are stronger than us. Not in size or numbers, but in understanding. They studied us. They knew exactly how we would fight. And they beat us without killing us, he paused. They are trying to teach us something. They are showing us that strength is not about conquest. It is about having the power to destroy but choosing to build instead. I am standing down my weapons. I recommend you all do the same. One by one, the remaining Varathian ships powered down their weapons. The war was over. It had lasted 45 minutes. Admiral Hiron transported to Tharn's ship. She walked through corridors where wounded Varathians and humans were being treated side by side. She found Tharn on his bridge, staring at the tactical display that showed his defeated fleet. "Sub-Commander Tharn," she said. "May I speak with you?" Tharn stood and faced her. He was still taller than her by a meter, but somehow she seemed larger. "You have earned that right, Admiral." They walked to an observation window. Outside, the battlefield was quiet now. Rescue ships moved between disabled vessels, helping both human and Varathian wounded. "We did not want this war," Hiron said. "We tried diplomacy. We tried warnings. We tried showing you who we really are." Krell chose not to listen. "I know," Tharn replied. "I saw it. I just did not want to believe it." Hiron turned to face him. "Your people have a choice now. You can continue as you were, believing that conquest is the path to greatness, or you can learn what humans learned after thousands of years of war, that cooperation achieves more than conflict, that understanding your neighbors is better than dominating them. And if we choose the wrong path?" Tharn asked. Hiron's expression was sad. "Then next time we might not be so merciful. Today we taught a lesson. Tomorrow we might have to do more. I hope it does not come to that." Tharn thought about everything he had seen, the humans showing mercy to prisoners, the nurse healing wounded Varathians, the careful way they disabled ships without killing, and now this admiral, who could have destroyed his entire species, instead offering them a chance to change. "What happens to Krell?" he asked. "That is for your people to decide," Hiron said. We do not seek revenge. We seek change. If your people want peace, we will help you build it. If they want war, we have shown what we can do. The choice is yours. She extended her hand. A human gesture of peace. Tharn stared at it for a moment, then reached out with one of his 4 hands and took it. I will do everything I can to make sure my people choose wisely, he said. Across the galaxy, the recordings of the Battle of New Sol spread like wildfire. Every species watched in amazement. The mighty Varathian Empire defeated in less than an hour, not by superior firepower but by superior understanding. And everywhere beings looked at humans differently now. Those small emotional creatures were not weak. They were terrifying in the best possible way. They had the power to destroy but chose to teach. They had the strength to conquer but preferred to befriend. In the command center beneath New Sol, Dr. Taman began documenting everything. This moment would change galactic history. The day humanity showed the universe that true strength comes not from dominating others, but from understanding them so completely that victory becomes inevitable. What do you think will happen now? Captain Jiho asked Hyerin as they watched the rescue operations. Now comes the hard part, Hyerin replied. Winning the war was easy. Winning the peace will be much more difficult. But if we can help the Varathians change, if we can show other species that cooperation is possible, then maybe this war will be worth something. She looked at the stars beyond the window. We have taken our first real steps into the galaxy. Let us hope we can walk this path without having to fight every species we meet. Jiho nodded. The battle was over, but the real work was just beginning. 3 months after the Battle of New Sol, the galaxy was changing. News of humanity's victory spread across thousands of worlds. The Varathian Empire, once feared by everyone, had been defeated without a single enemy casualty. It was unprecedented. It was revolutionary. And it terrified some species while giving hope to others. On the Varathian homeworld, Subcommander Tharn now held a different title. First Speaker of the Reformed Varathian Assembly. The transition had not been easy. Krell was in exile on a remote colony world. Many military officers resisted change. But slowly, painfully, Varathian society was transforming. Tharn stood before the assembly, addressing his people. For a century, we believed that strength meant domination. We conquered 17 species. We thought this made us great. But the humans showed us something different. They had the power to destroy us completely. They chose not to. That is true strength. Not everyone agreed. A military faction led by Admiral Zensk plotted in secret. They believed surrender was shameful. They wanted to rebuild the fleet and strike back at humanity, but they underestimated how much ordinary Varathians had changed. Meanwhile, representatives from the 17 species conquered by Varathians arrived in human space. They came not seeking military alliance but understanding. How had humans developed such advanced technology while maintaining ethical principles? How did they balance power with compassion? Captain Jiho became humanity's primary ambassador to these species. He traveled from world to world sharing human history. He did not hide the dark parts. He showed them wars, genocides, and terrible mistakes, but he also showed them how humans learned from those mistakes. We are not perfect, Jiho told the Kalith people, who had suffered 50 years under Varathian rule. We still make mistakes. We still have conflicts, but we learned that cooperation achieves more than conquest, that understanding your neighbors is better than dominating them. A Kalith leader named Valora became fascinated by human culture. She spent months on Earth studying human history and society. What amazed her most was not human technology, but human diversity. Hundreds of cultures living together, sharing a single planet in peace. How did you do it? Valora asked Jiho one evening as they watched sunset over Earth's Pacific Ocean. How did so many different peoples learn to live together? Jiho smiled sadly, slowly, painfully, with many failures along the way. But eventually we realized that our differences made us stronger, not weaker, that every culture had something valuable to contribute. Other major galactic powers watched humanity with interest. The Andrelian Confederation, a union of 6 aquatic species, sent observers to study human society. They expected to find warriors. Instead, they found philosophers, artists, and scientists who happened to be very good at warfare when necessary. Ambassador Hanul, a former professor of ethics, represented humanity in negotiations with these neutral powers. She explained humanity's core belief: power exists to protect, not to dominate. This concept puzzled many species who viewed power as something to exploit for advantage. But if you have power, and do not use it to gain advantage, what is the point? Asked an Andrelian diplomat, Hanul responded patiently, because advantages gained through force are temporary. Trust built through cooperation lasts. We learned this lesson after thousands of years of conflict. We prefer to learn from our past rather than repeat it. The real challenge was the Varathian transformation. Dr. Taman proposed a radical cultural exchange program. Young Varathians would visit Earth and human colonies experiencing cooperative society firsthand. Young humans would visit Varathian worlds, learning about a culture struggling to redefine itself. Lieutenant Minji surprised everyone by volunteering to teach at the new Varathian military academy. She would help them reconceptualize their armed forces from tools of conquest to instruments of defense. Why would you do this? Tharn asked her. We were your enemies. Minji looked at him seriously. Because winning the war is not enough. We need to win the peace. The best way to prevent future conflict is to help former enemies understand better ways. Plus, I studied your tactics for years. I want to see what you can do with proper strategic education. The cultural exchange was not without problems. Varathian extremists attacked a human student on a colony world. Angry at the cooperation, the student, a young man named Minho, was badly injured but survived. When he woke in the hospital, he found Varathian doctors treating him alongside human medics. We are sorry, one Varathian doctor said. Those who hurt you do not represent all of us. Minho smiled weakly. I know, change is hard. Some people will resist. But most of you want something better. I can see that. There were positive incidents too. A Varathian engineering student saved a human child from drowning in a river. A human teacher helped rebuild a Varathian school destroyed during the war. Small moments of connection that slowly built bridges between species. Then Admiral Zensk made his move. He seized control of 3 outer systems and declared his intention to restore Varathian dominance. He had 50 warships and thousands of loyal soldiers. It was a crisis that threatened to undo months of progress. Tharn contacted Admiral Heron immediately. We need help but not military intervention. If humans attack Zensk, it will undermine everything we are trying to build. It will look like you are controlling us. Heron understood. What do you need? Time and protection for civilians. Zensk is threatening to bombard colony worlds that refuse to join him. If you can evacuate civilians and provide humanitarian aid, my people will handle Zensk politically. Nurse Subin, who had been working on a Varathian colony world, became crucial to the solution. She had built relationships with local civilians and understood their concerns. She convinced Commander Junho to take a different approach. Do not fight Zensk's forces, Subin explained. Help the people. Show them that humans protect Varathian citizens even from their own military. Let the civilians be the ones who reject Zensk. The strategy worked perfectly. Human ships evacuated civilians from conflict zones. They provided food, medicine, and supplies to worlds caught between Zensk and Tharn. They protected Varathian citizens without firing a shot at Varathian soldiers. Zensk had expected military confrontation. Instead, he faced mass civilian protests. Varathians who had experienced human compassion refused to support a return to conquest. His own soldiers began deserting, unwilling to fight for ideals they no longer believed in. Within 3 weeks, the coup collapsed. Zensk surrendered to Tharn's government. Not a single shot had been fired. The crisis ended not through violence but through cultural rejection. However, not everyone was satisfied with peaceful resolution. The Kalith people, through Representative Valora, demanded war crimes trials for Varathian officers who had committed atrocities during their conquest. It was a legitimate demand that created a difficult situation. Captain Jiho proposed a solution inspired by Earth's history. A truth and reconciliation process. Varathian officers would confess their crimes publicly, face judgment, and then work toward restitution rather than simply receiving punishment. Justice without mercy creates only more hatred. Jiho explained to the Kalith assembly. Mercy without justice creates no change. We need both. Varathians must face what they did, but they must also have a path forward if they genuinely change. It was controversial. Some Kalith felt it was too lenient. Some Varathians felt it was too harsh, but it provided a path forward that neither pure revenge nor pure forgiveness could offer. Across the galaxy, humanity's reputation changed. They were no longer seen as small and harmless, but they were also not seen as conquerors. They were seen as something new, a species that fought when necessary but preferred to build bridges. Ambassador Hanuel found herself mediating disputes between species that had been enemies for centuries. She applied human principles, find common ground, emphasize shared interests, show that cooperation benefits everyone more than conflict. It was slow work, but it worked. Admiral Hiron struggled with the burden of power. She was now commander of the most capable military force in known space. History showed that power corrupted. How could humanity avoid that fate? She confided in Dr. Taman one evening. What if we become like the Varathians? What if our power makes us forget our values? Taman smiled gently. Humans are not immune to corruption, but we are conscious of the danger. That awareness is our protection. As long as we question ourselves, as long as we remember our mistakes, we have a chance to stay true to our principles. 6 months after the Battle of New Sol, the first joint human-Varathian patrol ship launched. It had a mixed crew, working together to protect trade routes and respond to emergencies. The symbolism was powerful. Former enemies now served side by side. Commander Junho watched the ship depart and felt something he had not felt in years. Hope. Not naive hope that everything would be perfect, but realistic hope that change was possible. That species could grow. That understanding could replace fear. What do you think happens next? Lieutenant Minji asked him. Junho thought carefully before answering. More challenges. More misunderstandings. More conflicts. But maybe, just maybe, we have shown the galaxy a different way. Not through preaching, but through example. By being strong enough to be gentle. By being powerful enough to show restraint. Far away in deep space, sensors detected new signals. Another species. Another 10 years had passed since the Battle of New Sol. The anniversary brought beings from across the galaxy to a special place, the rebuilt Harmony Station. It was no longer a military fortress. It was a memorial, a reminder, a promise. Admiral Hiron, now retired and much older, stood before the memorial wall. Names were carved into it, human and Varathian, everyone who died in the war. At the top, in large letters, Sergeant Do-hyun and his 11 volunteers. Beside each name was the same inscription. They died so others could learn to live together. Hiron touched Do-hyun's name gently. Thank you, old friend. Your lesson changed everything. Around her, the ceremony was beginning. Thousands had come. Humans, Varathians, Kalith, and representatives from dozens of other species. What had started as a war between two species had become a turning point for the entire galaxy. First Speaker Tharn approached the stage. He was older too, bearing the weight of transformation. His government had faced countless challenges over the decade. Resistance from traditionalists, economic struggles, the painful process of making restitution to conquered species. But the Varathian Federation, as it was now called, had survived and slowly thrived. 10 years ago, we believed strength meant conquest, Tharn began. We thought our size and military power made us superior. We were wrong. The humans taught us that true strength is choosing restraint, that real power comes from understanding, not dominating. He gestured to the memorial. These humans could have killed us all. Instead, they showed us mercy, not because they were weak, but because they were wise. My species is forever grateful for the lesson they taught us, even though it came through conflict. When Tharn finished, Hiron took the stage. The crowd fell silent. She had become a legend across the galaxy. The admiral who won a war without slaughter. The human who proved that small size meant nothing compared to large wisdom. We gather here not to celebrate victory, Hiron said, her voice still strong despite her age. We gather to remember the cost of misunderstanding. War is easy. Peace is hard. Destroying is simple. Building takes time and effort and patience. She looked across the assembled species. Humans learned through thousands of years of conflict that cooperation achieves more than conquest. We tried to share this lesson peacefully. When that failed, we had to teach it another way. But we never forgot that our goal was peace, not victory. After the ceremony, old friends gathered in a quiet observation room. Captain Jiho, now Chief Ambassador, stood with Representative Valora of the Kalith. Their friendship had grown deep over the years. The Kalith were now humanity's closest allies. Your people changed the galaxy, Valora said. Not through force, but through example. Jiho smiled. We are still learning ourselves. Power is a burden. Every day we must choose to use it wisely. Some days we succeed. Some days we fail, but we keep trying. Commander Junho had also retired from active service. He taught at Earth's Naval Academy now, training the next generation. His message to students was always the same. The goal of warfare is to end warfare. Fight if you must, but always seek better solutions. Lieutenant Minji, now General Minji, commanded the Joint Defense Force. Human and Varathian ships patrolled together, responding to emergencies across multiple systems. It was the first truly multi-species military organization, and it worked because both sides remembered the lessons of war. Dr. Taman had become the galaxy's most respected cultural historian. His books on interspecies relations were studied everywhere. He documented not just the war but the peace that followed. The hard work. The small victories. The gradual building of trust. Nurse Subin ran the first joint medical station, treating patients regardless of species. Her staff included humans, Barathians, Kalith, and others. She embodied a simple principle. Healing knows no boundaries. Pain is pain, suffering is suffering, and all deserve care. The greatest changes appeared in the youngest generation. Children born after the war knew nothing else but cooperation. Human and Varathian children attended the same schools. They played together. They became friends. General Minji's daughter Seojin was best friends with a young Varathian named Kreth. Kreth's father had served in the fleet that attacked Harmony Station. But Kreth and Seojin did not care about their parents' past. They cared about their own future. Why did our peoples fight? Seojin once asked her mother. Minji answered honestly, because we did not understand each other. We made assumptions based on appearance and culture. We forgot that every species has value. Every being deserves respect. Your generation will not make that mistake. But the galaxy was not without new challenges. Deep space monitoring stations detected signals from beyond explored space. Another species, possibly aggressive, possibly friendly, unknown. This time the response was different. Instead of individual species preparing for conflict, they coordinated. Ambassador Jiho led a multi-species first contact team. Humans, Varathians, Kalith, and others. They would approach together, unified. We learned from our mistakes, Jiho explained to the team. We will offer friendship first, but we will be prepared if friendship is rejected. We know what we can do if we must. We just prefer not to. The contact vessel was a beautiful thing. Built jointly by 3 species, it represented everything the galaxy had learned. Cooperation was possible. Different cultures could work together. Understanding achieved more than conquest. As the vessel prepared to launch, Jiho and Valora stood together watching. They had become symbols of the new galaxy, the human and the Kalith, former victims of Varathian conquest, now friends helping rebuild galactic society. Do you think we are ready for whatever is out there? Valora asked. Jiho considered the question. We are never fully ready, but we are ready to try, and that is what makes us dangerous in the best possible way. We do not give up. We learn from mistakes, and we refuse to let fear or aggression define us, he smiled. Besides, we are not alone anymore. Whatever we face together. The contact vessel launched, accelerating toward unknown space. Its crew transmitted a message that would reach the new species long before the ship arrived. The message was simple, written in mathematical patterns that any advanced civilization could decode. We come in peace, prepared for war, hoping for friendship. We are many species, once divided, now united. We have learned that the universe is vast enough for all of us. We offer cooperation. We hope you will accept. On distant worlds, parents told their children stories. Stories of how humanity seemed cute and harmless until they proved otherwise. Not through cruelty, but through capability. Not through domination, but through understanding. The stories always emphasized the same lesson. Never judge by appearance. Small does not mean weak. Emotional does not mean foolish. And kindness should never be mistaken for inability to defend oneself. But the stories also taught something else. Humans had the power to destroy but chose to build. They won wars but preferred peace. They mastered violence but used it sparingly. That combination made them unique. That combination made them leaders. War Master Krell, still alive in his remote exile, occasionally received visitors. Young Varathians curious about the old ways. He told them honestly about his mistakes. I thought size meant strength, Krell said to one group of students. I thought emotions were weakness. I thought conquest was the path to greatness. I was wrong about everything. The humans taught me that true strength is choosing mercy when you could choose violence. True power is understanding your enemy so completely that victory becomes inevitable. He looked at the young Varathians with their hopeful faces. They had never known conquest. They had grown up in a society that valued cooperation. They were better than he had been at their age. Learn from my failures, Krell said. The galaxy does not need more conquerors. It needs builders, healers, teachers, be those things. Back at Harmony Station, the ceremony ended with a moment of silence. Then music played. Human music mixed with Varathian songs. Kalith instruments joined in. The sound was beautiful because it was diverse. Different but harmonious, Admiral Hyerin stood one last time before the memorial. She placed her hand on Sergeant Dohyun's name. We kept your promise, she whispered. We taught the lesson, and the galaxy learned. Rest well, my friend. As beings from across the galaxy departed, they carried with them a renewed commitment. War was always possible. Conflict would arise. Misunderstandings would happen. But now they had a different approach. They would seek understanding first. They would offer cooperation before conflict. They would remember that every species had value. And if understanding failed, if cooperation was rejected, then they would remember humanity's lesson. That small size does not mean weakness. That kindness does not mean inability. That the most dangerous beings in the universe are those who know exactly how to hurt you, but choose not to unless absolutely necessary. The galaxy had learned. Humans might look cute. They might seem emotional and vulnerable. But underestimating them was the biggest mistake anyone could make. Not because they were cruel, but because they were thorough. They studied. They prepared. They understood. And when necessary, they demonstrated that 10,000 years of human warfare had taught them to be very, very good at ending conflicts decisively. But the real lesson? The one that